Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Compliance Corner with John Hanson. Today is Friday, April 3rd, 2020, and I am here with my very good friend, John Hanson. How are you doing today, John?
Doing great, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So, Compliance Corner, we have some fairly detailed things to go through today. The very first thing we do need to understand, though, is that yesterday the governor did extend the stay home and stay healthy directive until May 4th. So we're going to be here for a while, John, right?
Well, another month, yes.
Yep, another month. All right. So obviously, then that kind of leads to some clarity that the Washington Association of Realtors gave us on a particular question yesterday. So let's read that. This is from the Washington Association of Realtors legal hotline. The question said, a broker just tested positive for COVID-19. Until very recently, she was showing houses. What should the broker do and what should the broker's firm do? So here is the response from the Washington Association of Realtors, and we'll go through it step by step. The first step was the broker should self-quarantine him or herself and notify their own designated broker. Right, John?
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you isolate yourself. And then once you've done that, then you want to notify me right away so that we can start taking the next steps.
Okay, great. And so the first step would be the broker and the designated broker should create a list of all properties that the inflicted broker has listed and determine the last time the broker was in each property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which means I've not been in those properties and you have. So that means you will have to compile that list, go back through your own records and find out which properties you've been in. So when we do address this issue and I have to issue a statement, it's not going to name you by name. It's just going to simply be a statement sent to them, to each of the people in whose property you were in. That's going to say that someone from our office has tested positive and was in your home on a certain date, and we want to make you aware of that.
Yeah, so let's actually look at that in detail, John, because I think the specifics were pretty clear with them. So first of all, the designated broker should contact all clients with whom broker has had in-person contact over the past 21 days or whose home the broker has been in over the past 21 days and put those people on notice of the afflicted broker's COVID-19 positive results. And then the designated broker should notify the seller and every buyer broker who accessed the home since the listing afflicted broker's presence in the property, and in writing and via phone, put them on notice. And I think this is, well, actually, let's go through just a couple more, and I think then we can kind of really summarize it. Designated broker should advise these individuals to consult a doctor to understand how to proceed. And this is what you were actually just saying, John. Designated broker should not reveal the identity of the broker. This information is irrelevant. So it's creating a list. It's then notifying all of these people. And then, of course, our own broker, it's irrelevant on what their identity is.
Yes, that's correct. And we want to be aware that in this process of reconstructing which properties you've been in, if you are tested positive, if you are the listing agent, we want to make sure that we take immediate action on this because now you've been in that home. Maybe you've been staging, maybe who knows what. But we have a duty to anyone who has looked at that home then to disclose to them that someone from our office who tested positive for the COVID-19 has been in the home and you may have been exposed to this virus.
Gotcha. Okay. And it continues, upon receipt of such a notice, any listing broker should notify his or her seller and other buyers brokers who accessed that seller's home since the afflicted broker was in the house. And finally, upon receipt of such a notice, any buyer's broker who was in the same house should also notify any buyers who entered that property.
Right. And by the way, these guidelines that you're looking at and that we're talking about are guidelines. They are that it is not a legal mandate that this is something we absolutely have to follow procedure. This is just a suggestion from the lawyers for Washington Realtors and the MLS that we follow this process so that we can keep our each of you out of legal trouble and keep ourselves out of legal trouble as a firm.
Great, great. And of course, you wanted to be very clear with everybody. You do not have to perform in-person activities, despite anything you've heard to the contrary. You do not have to do showings, correct, John?
Absolutely, that is correct. And as I was sharing with Cole, I've read through that memo several times, and each time I read it, this was what stood out to me. That we want you as brokers to know that you don't have to go out and do in-person showings just because we have permission to do so now with the with the conditions, of only 2 in the house at a time, that kind of thing. We don't have to do that in person. None of the services that are to be performed or that can be performed now, just because we have permission doesn't mean we have to be there. So if we can do it remotely from home, that's the best thing to do. You want to protect yourself. No one's going to be protecting you other than yourself, and you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself.
Such a good point, John. You know what? I think everybody just has to use their own common sense and really understand what's best for themselves and their family and their clients. We're all learning as we go through all this, but I think this was some really interesting direction from the Washington Association of Realtors. And John, as always, I appreciate so much you giving us detail on this and helping us keep up to date on all of these issues. There's a lot going on, and I just want to say you're just doing a fantastic job with all this.
Thank you.
You bet you. Have a fantastic day, my friend, and everybody, you have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.